Welcome to the Roadcast, the podcast of the European Asphalt Pavement Association. I'm your host, Carsten Karcher, speaking to you from Brussels. In each episode, we want to provide insights of the asphalt world and explore the future of the asphalt industry through conversations with thought leaders and innovators from across Europe and beyond. Today, I'm joined by someone who brings a comprehensive perspective from the world of construction equipment, Martyn Luby from Volvo Construction Equipment. Martyn has just been awarded by the 2024 EAPA Technical Excellence Award for outstanding contributions related to asphalt pavements or the asphalt industry or EAPA committees. We will talk about the future of asphalt paving, digitalisation, sustainability, and how the producers of construction equipment are working to reduce CO2 emissions. We will also get to know Martyn a bit better, his background, his view on the industry, and his connection with EAPA. Martyn, welcome to the Roadcast.
Thank you for the introduction, Carsten.
And congratulations for having received the award on the EAPA Excellence Award.
Thank you. It was a very unexpected reward, which has disappeared. But it was very unexpected. I didn't think my contributions were that high, but obviously they've been appreciated. But very welcome. It's a nice finish to my career as well to get something saying, except for salary, just saying, well done, thank you very much.
Yeah. So this is something that was highly appreciated from our side also to hand this over to you after all this year. And Braccio made it quite clear in his honoring speech. For everyone who wants to learn more about this, you can check the EAPA social media. You will find a video and some nice pictures on that. You are quite long time in the asphalt industry now, and can you tell us a bit how did you end up in this industry?
Well, this is a long story, so if we have time, I'll tell you a little bit.
Yes, please.
I started because I'm British, but I've been living in Sweden for a good part of my life. But my start in the asphalt industry was with Dunlop in the UK. And at that time...
The tennis balls.
Tyres.
Tyres, okay.
And they had come to the point where they thought that they'd reached the limit on development of tyres. So they turned the focus to the asphalt. So in cooperation with the University of Birmingham, they developed a method for asphalt. They could... It was a special product where you could use aggregates in a way to create friction. And so they investigated this quite a lot. And during this time, the Swedish military became very interested in the concept. So Dunlop was invited over to Sweden, and then the Swedish companies got very interested in this. And then suddenly, it was the middle of the 80s, we had Maggie Thatcher in the UK. Things were closing down, a lot of people were made redundant, and they closed down. At Dunlop, they closed down everything that didn't belong to their core business. And then the Swedish military called and said, could you come to Sweden and help us with this asphalt? We want to carry on. I thought, okay, I'd just gone through a divorce, and I thought, why not? So I went to Sweden and then never looked back, basically. My career took off in Sweden. So during my life there in Sweden, I've managed laboratories, I've had crushing plants, I've had quarries, I've had asphalt plants, regional manager for asphalt, paving. I've worked in Europe, in Poland, building motorways, the A2, just when Poland went into the EU, building military airfields, so varied and interesting career.
Yes, sounds like that. So all the value chain,
the whole
from
thing.
the very beginning until the end.
This is one of the advantages, if I look, people who came in the 90s, they were more specialised. One or two of us, we had this very wide picture of everything, so we were involved in every detail of the process. So we had a different view of everything compared to everybody else. And this carried on, and then in the end of 12, 13, Volvo approached me, and they were looking for a road specialist, because they'd purchased paving equipment from Ingersoll Rand. So I joined Volvo at the end of 2013 and then became a member in the EAPA. It was a requirement in Volvo that we were going to have this representation, both to give and to fetch information, to understand what's going on in the industry. And then I've been with Volvo until now, and now we're in 2025 and I'm getting near to retirement. So I will be retiring in the next few months.
So it's good to have you in this podcast
thank you.
today in this season. Yeah. We will talk about your collaboration with the EAPA and Volvo's collaboration with the EAPA later. And for me, I'd like to know from you, What keeps you excited about this industry?
I have this discussion actually with my wife, people who I work with, and I say if I look back at the career, I couldn't have had a more interesting job. Very varied, done many different things. I worked in Russia, I worked in Poland, built harbours, built airfields, teaching a lot. And you get to this and you think, yeah, it's been a very varied and interesting. Maybe you don't make the highest salary in the world, but you really enjoy your working life.
And it satisfies you.
It's satisfying. It's very satisfying.
Yes, very satisfying, I guess so, yeah. Is there some defining moments in your career that stand out that you would like to share with us?
To be honest, when I look, you never see it at the time. It's when you look back and you see some of the, I have to connect it to the work we were doing, bigger projects. Working 3 years with airfields, you look afterwards, you think, God, we had a good time then. Living in Poland and working, building the motorway, and during that period in Poland, you look back, it was the entry into Europe. We had a year before when it wasn't in Europe, then we saw everything happening in Poland. And you look back and you think that was a fantastic time to be involved in this industry. And then you met a lot of people, created contacts. Yeah. So very interesting. I think that's the thing. It's a varied and interesting industry to be involved in, as long as you're moving forward, not sitting in one role all the time, that you see different things. But I think I can always recommend to people that one of the most important platforms in the industry is to actually be in a laboratory, to have had the feeling for the materials we're dealing with. Yeah.
I have the same experience because I am a laboratory guy from the basics, and it's good to know what is the basis of this industry.
Yeah. I think
of an asphalt road or a road.
Yeah. I've had guys who've come for courses after they've been in the industry for 20 years, and there may be some small terms or small things about material they've never understood, and then suddenly, but they don't dare ask anybody because they've been in the industry so long, and suddenly they say, was it so simple?
If you would have to describe the industry with 3 words or 2 words or 1 word, could that be?
I don't know if I could describe the industry like that, but I think I could describe, for the people who come into the industry, you'll never regret it. I think that's the important thing. If you choose a career path in the industry, you will always enjoy it. I'll add one more. Just the period we're in now, where we're seeing a tremendous amount of development from the digital side of things. I think it opens it for younger people, because you're here now. You can form what's happening as well. So.
Yeah, there are a lot of opportunities for young people to also steer this industry, and it's not only civil engineers or road engineers; it's all disciplines.
Everything, so especially software guys, and giving us somebody working with IT software who has an understanding of the industry itself. He really is sitting in a commanding position, helping to develop where we need to go.
And where are we going to? What is your idea, your knowledge, your perspective? What would you say? How would the future look like?
The equipment will change. Yeah, there's going to be small changes, but the big change, of course, is digitalisation. People see digitalisation as this magic word, but it's not. I think we're going to have much more focus on the process of asphalt. And when I mean process, we're probably jumping ahead a bit, but process, we're talking about everything that happens in the quarry, everything that happens in the mixing plant, material testing, paving. We're going to see a revolution in this part of it, because it was like years ago we had thermal cameras. We all thought we knew a lot about asphalt, and we suddenly started seeing pictures of what was happening on the road, and we suddenly realised we didn't really know very much. It really pushed ahead. But I think digitalisation and AI is going to open the doors to a lot of things. And if I look at my final vision of what's going to be, we're talking automation. That's where we will get. We're probably a long way from getting to automation, but we're making steps. Everything we do now is a step towards automation of the process.
So what does that mean, automation? What
automation?
Draw a picture for us.
We've had some projects going on in Scandinavia with the Swedish state development organisation. And what we see with automation is to eliminate, it sounds bad, but to eliminate human actions in the process. As soon as we have humans involved in the transmission of data, where we need this data to perhaps manage a process, we have issues. So I think digitalisation for me is a seamless flow of data across the whole process, from the quarry to road maintenance, that all the data we produce while we're building the road is very important for planning future maintenance. So we have all this data. But what we've seen in the project is that as soon as we rely on a person to do something, We can never guarantee it happens. So I think this will be the big thing, making a seamless flow of data through a process, and then allowing probably AI algorithms to decide how this data will be used. I mean, it sounds sometimes to people, you think, we're taking away their jobs, but I don't think it's that. I think it's just, we have to do it. We spend so much money on roads. We need to improve the quality. So that's where we're going, I think.
We are also lacking people in this industry.
Yeah.
To be a roller driver, paver driver, a street man.
Education. We need to, of course, make the industry attractive. And, of course, with digitalisation, it's becoming more and more attractive for people, especially younger people. We have the other guy in the EAPA, Geir Lange. We hear from Norway that the guys, when they go for a rest, they're still watching the process on their smartphones. They're very interested, and we're living in their world because we're providing them with tools to be actually to follow the job, even though they're taking a cup of coffee somewhere. They're so involved in it. But I think we have to make the industry, of course, attractive for younger people.
What are the skills needed for the future of the industry, for the young people?
For the young people, I mean, that's a good question, actually.
And the older ones like us too.
Yeah, it's easy for us to say, and we need to learn, of course, modern technology. We don't many times we don't understand the importance of Instagram and things like this. If I go to Volvo, we ask the question when we've been at Bauma, we've got 200,000 hits today. I said, what does it mean? I said, could you please explain, what does 200,000 hits, what is it giving us? It's just, I watch my daughters on TikTok. Click, nice, click, nice, click, nice. And you think sometimes, okay, is that a hit? But maybe we don't understand this in our generation. I don't know. It may be this, but it's quite natural. For my daughters, it's quite natural. And they understand it. But I think we need to make the industry attractive, to see that there is a potential. I think a little bit saying, what we said just earlier about, I've never regretted being in the industry. It's always been an interesting job. And this will still be there in the future. We're still going to be building a harbour in St. Petersburg. We're still going to be building an airport in Stockholm or wherever. And these projects are demanding, but they're also interesting when you look back. They're very stressful when you're doing them, but when you look back, you think, God, we achieved this. It was fantastic. And, you see a runway, you see aircraft starting, and you see a harbour, you see cranes running on the surface you've built. Maybe it's my sense of what's an achievement is perverted, but it does it looks, you've achieved something. And there's something there which you did, which will be there for a long time. Yeah.
Coming back to the skills, it's, of course, the younger generation is digital natives, so they for them it's natural to use these new technologies. But what kind of education might be needed? What kind of branches? Not only the construction sector, so because it becomes more and more horizontal now, with different disciplines coming into play.
Software engineers that have an understanding of the paving business become very valuable. We've seen, we've been working a lot with software companies in Volvo, and once we have to educate them first, but once they get into it, they also become very interested in what they're doing, because they need, they're very good at developing software, but they need a goal. They need something to understand. This is what we're trying to do. We have a tremendous shortage of software engineers, especially engineers that can convert these ideas into reality. And that is where we are. But then we've got the guys, okay, we're going to have autonomous machines in the future. But for the next 15, 20 years, I don't think that's going to be reality. We still need guys who are going to do paving in the cities. And then it's more people who are proud of the work they do. It's a handwork. It's an art form almost, to finish a paving job, to connect it nicely to a curbstone. And we need people who are satisfied in life with doing things like this. We need managers who can manage economy, not just process issues. I think we have such a wide need of different kinds of people. It's very hard to say exactly who we need. Yes, we need graduate engineers. But I wouldn't say it's the most important, because they may quickly get bored in some situations. But we still need this whole range of skills.
I see. So it's a different kind of education. We were already talking with a university professor, Professor Hofko, about the skills that new civil engineers need, and it's not only this digitalization and more soft skills. It's also a different kind of education, more focused on sustainability, more focused on and other stuff.
You said the word sustainability here. Yeah. If we're getting into sustainability as a machine manufacturer, we looked a lot at. Everybody sees sustainability as how do we reduce carbon dioxide emissions from our machines. Yes, we do this. if you look at every generation of machine, we have to limit ourselves to each generation, then we start the next generation. But every generation is much more fuel efficient, much more energy efficient than earlier generations. I mean, really, when we talk about asphalt, our problems or our industry starts with the road base, when we're putting out crushed material or to make a foundation. And we have issues here which affect the final product. We were looking at some projects with compaction of crushed material by heavy trucks. This causes issues in the future, especially when we have machines going in a very confined area. Then we put asphalt on the top, and then a few years later we get settlements here and there because of this high level of compaction in some areas but not in others. So sometimes it's very hard for us to just talk about asphalt. We need to bring in other areas as well. It's a problem that affects everybody. Our main aim, if you like, is to improve the quality of the road in the industry, at least everywhere we're involved. We want to introduce systems that can control compaction, so we can give people maybe sometimes a choice to understand what has happened in a process. Because we see this many times, is that we have great focus on machines, we have great focus on things like that, but very little focus on the actual construction process. When a truck is running across the surface, what's happening? And they think, yeah, but it's using fuel, we don't have an uneven surface, we don't get damage on the truck. Yeah, but what's happening what is happening on the surface of the road?
So a kind of pre-compaction.
Pre-compaction, which today is problematic. But maybe we can turn it to an advantage in the future with digitalisation. We can start mapping, or we can map already. We can map where the vehicle has gone. We can map the number of passes it's done. We can estimate the energy that's been gone into the road.
We can direct this heavy vehicle on a certain spot of the job site.
Instead of having there's a problem, we try to utilise this energy So I think this is where I see when we're coming to digitalisation. Digitalisation gives us the tools to do these things, to map, to understand what has happened. Do we need to take corrective action? Is this an issue? How do we control it? So I think here we're coming here more and more and more. And when we get into the asphalt process, when we're talking about, we start in the quarry. We need to understand what's happening with crushing. We need to understand what's happening in the mixing plant. We need to understand what's happening with the transport. We shouldn't forget that this transport is an essential part of the asphalt process. And we need to understand what's happening at the paver. So to kind of summarise digitalisation a little bit, as I see it, personal, we're going to tie together. What we see from projects is that we're working in silos. We have a mixing plant, we have a quarry, we have a paving, we have a roller, and we see these things in isolation. We tend not to see the connection between each. We were working in this project we have in Sweden called Construction Factory, and the first question from a guy who knew nothing about asphalt, he says, how does the roller know when the paver's going to stop? And we think, well, they talk to it. And he said, yeah, but how am I going to quantify this in data? He said, good point. And he said, why don't we just have the water tank level on the roller on the paver screen, so we can see the level of water, so the paver knows, he's only got 10% water left, he has to go. And these simple questions, which we probably don't even think of, because when you see a site manager, he solves a huge amount of problems automatically.
Yeah, he's the digital system
at
the moment,
yeah.
But it's human, as you mentioned before.
Yeah. So we're in this project, we've had trucks. Well, we work from the weighbridge on the mixing plant. We had transport, we had the paver, we had the rollers, and it was quite interesting to interview all the people after the project to say, the guys who are doing the small jobs on site, it works perfectly. We have no problems. The site manager is sitting there sweating every day trying to sort all the problems so they don't have issues. The truck drivers, they disappeared 5 minutes before we start because one's sick, truck broke down. They didn't really, the only information they benefited from was knowing where the paver was. So they could see that digitally on there. And the mixing plant, they were just transmitting receipts, basically directly to the paver. When we interviewed all the people from things, they said, well, we have all these communication systems. We have the weighbridge at the mixing plant, we send data to the paver, we have WhatsApp, we have Excel schedules, we have a truck system, which they're running is, but nobody's talking to each other. The site manager is the one in between who's talking to the milling machine, he's talking to the trucks, but there is no transfer of data in between. So nobody has a complete picture of what's going on. And I think we came to the point where we say digitalisation, at least in this stage, this is what the benefit is going to be when everybody understands what's going on in a process. That we start the asphalt, the milling machine's broken. The asphalt plant knows directly, stop. We've got a machine broken, we can't put asphalt out, so we have to stop. But instead, he'll probably get a phone call after an hour or so, telling him the milling machine's broken, and he's already produced another 200 tons of asphalt. So this is where the huge benefits will come with digitalisation, communication between different parts. Then the next part will be when we have sensors on the machine, and we start collecting data from the paver saying, okay, how do we control the screed? How do we compact the asphalt? We have sensors possibly on the roof of the paver, measuring profile, measuring the crossfall, measuring the smoothness. And we use this data in real time. This data goes back into the process, so you can make changes as things are happening. Yeah. Now we come 3 weeks after, we do a measurement of a job and come to the conclusion that wasn't very good. Yeah. And we've invested millions in this job. So I think the real benefits of data here will be having this sensor, maybe drones. When I say sensors, it doesn't have to be on the machines, but that we have all this data which we can transfer into the process as it's going on and make the necessary changes. So
it's steering quality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is where, the sensors are one thing, but this is when the AI and the algorithms come in. How do we develop this software to do this? We don't have that software yet. And then, of course, that's a big step towards autonomy once we have this. Autonomy may be that we know. In China, supposedly they have done autonomous paving, but we never know really the conditions. They don't have the same limitations of the way we manage data in Europe.
True. Yeah.
So there are lots of things there. But I think this is where, for me, this is the huge step forward we're going to make.
Yeah, and this is the large contribution when it comes to sustainability again, because a longer-lasting, a perpetual road is the most sustainable effort we can do.
And we have this point, we say about, we said in the beginning, always look at fuel consumption, efficiency.
Yeah, but that has been done throughout the years, legal basis, because we had legal obligations. Yeah.
But the thing is, if we don't succeed with the quality, if what we do sub-optimizes quality, maybe we lose a year of life of the road. All that was meaningless, really, because that 1 year of life on the road, if you look at the actual carbon dioxide emissions, was probably far exceeds anything we've ever saved. So we have to have that in mind as well. It's the life cycle analysis.
Yeah, and the highest level of the life cycle is to use it, to have it in service, and if not, repair, but not demolish or rebuild or whatever. No.
And we have this, we have disruption to traffic. We have everything.
Which causes CO2 emissions again. So we are on a good way in this sense. Equipment industry is really developing things, ideas, and as you mentioned before, the industry already did a lot to reduce CO2 emissions with fuels, and so that's in our genes, so to say, to do it.
Then we have electrification. We can say that Volvo sold the business last year to Amman, and at that point we'd already developed a prototype electric paver. So that machine went on test last year in the autumn, and we got feedback from customers. We prefer this to the other machine. We were running almost a normal working shift with the battery capacity we had. Everything has been positive, except for, of course, the price. At the moment, it depends on the demands from the authorities, but at the moment they're too expensive, of course. People will probably lease them. It's new technology. People don't want to invest millions in a machine and then find that in 3 years' time this technology is out of date. So at this point they'll be leasing. But then we also have to look at electrification of the transport fleet as well.
Of course.
And look, in Scandinavia we have a lot of trucks already going into electrified. And when we're looking at highway paving, when we're in a very confined area, we have to get energy to the paver. So trucks are going to play a role in the future probably to deliver. If we look at asphalt, they have to deliver asphalt. Maybe we will also deliver energy to the paver.
Yes, you need a logistic for the electricity.
Yeah, and trucks could be the tool for that. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I see. When you look at it, if you have 8-10 trucks feeding a paver during a normal day, they probably only need to deliver 10-20 kilowatt hours every time they're docked with a paver. People say, but they're not so much. There's not so much time, that they're docked with the paver. But during the day, it's probably 80% of the time. Mm-hmm. So you have plenty of time to transfer energy. And maybe you don't even transfer energy. Maybe you actually drive the paver from the truck instead of charging batteries, because we'll always have this issue with battery life and discussions about wear and tear. So maybe they just discharge and take over the drive of the paver while they're docked. And the battery you have a limited capacity on the machine instead. And you can reduce the investment.
Wow, lot of new ideas and good ideas.
Whether it will happen, I don't know, because the battery technology is changing as well. So batteries are becoming cheaper. We don't know how critical that will be in the future.
What do you think? What role can EAPA play in this?
I think one of the important things with the EAPA is to make sure the industry is aware of what's going on. And I mean all parts in the industry. I think this is the biggest thing. Next thing I think is, of course, that we have to see that this information also needs to go to the authorities, the highway agencies, the road authorities. Yeah. They are the ones who have to drive. I mean, the typical asphalt contractor, he will get a contract and he will do what it says. If the road authorities start specifying more and more, helping with development, saying that they're aware of this, we'd like to implement this on this project, then we can move technology forward. But if the road authorities don't help, it's going to be very, very difficult because the contractors will stay. They're quite happy with the status quo. They stay still. They do as they've always done. They may have an ambition to be better, but if it costs them money, they won't do it. It's simple as that.
EAPA put a lot of efforts in this topic, over the last years. We have established this, and you are an important part of it, the Asphalt 4.0 committee, where we talk about innovation, digitalisation, and the future of the asphalt industry, of the paving industry. And yes, you were highly involved in that. Can you give us some insights on this?
We've been looking what digital technologies are available, at least an up-to-date view of what is on the market. But we're not going in telling people what to do. We're just showing them what is there. And what we've just been talking about as well is the next stage, the actual binding together these digital technologies to produce a process view of things. But it gives people a basis to understand where we are.
What is status quo in the industry? That's put down in this document.
Yes.
And also some future ideas. You described the future scenarios quite well at the beginning of this podcast. Here, the document, which will be released soon, the Asphalt 4.0, Digital Transformation, an EAPA document on this, technical briefing. So we are heavily working on this in the committees. You were involved at technical director of EAPA, Brescio Gomez. Thanks for all this good work in this.
But I think everybody's contributed to this. It's been so important just to get this down on paper. And remember, this is a living document as well. Yeah. Next year, there are new things. Yeah.
Everything. Every year, things are new. And that's also the reason why we have this international conference on Asphalt 4.0 every year, because so many things change in this industry. And by the way, maybe I can add from our side, from EAPA side, we have a global alliance, Global Asphalt Pavement Alliance. And we always put this on the agenda when we meet with the colleagues from the US, from Australia, Japan, South America, whatever. We are those who talk about it. The others don't talk about it. They always, they don't have a committee like this. They are not as advanced as we are in pushing these new technologies. Yeah. And it all comes together, sustainability, decarbonization, being an attractive industry with this topic at the end. So being innovative, addressing the future.
I think it was one of the comments we made in the beginning, that why people, even we had difficulty getting people to adapt, to take this information, was what's in it for me? What? And this is what we need to explain, and what we tried to explain a bit now is, what does digitalisation mean for me? What are the benefits? If you look at a company, take a big company in the UK or take Strabag in Germany, we look at these companies and they say, what's the return on investment? If I invest millions in this equipment, what do I get back? Is it just a cost? And sometimes it's very hard to show because you don't have hindsight when you're doing something. You only see afterwards, and it's very hard to compare that job with the job before because they're different kinds of jobs. So it's very hard sometimes to evaluate what the contribution of a digital system was, how much it made life easier. I remember we've produced information for customers saying, if you do this, this is your potential savings. And they say, great, thank you. And that's it, they don't buy it. And yet we can put it in black and white, showing these are the benefits. You will save this money. But because they don't see it, it's very hard to say. They don't see this saving because the way the projects are organised, there's no sign, this is what would happen if we did this, this is what happened if we did this. They don't see this result.
So we have to work hard on
this. We have to convince.
Yeah, so communication again. Communication is very important. This podcast is one part of the communication EAPA is doing. to spread this information, to spread the knowledge, to spread the good things the industry is doing for the future, or for our future. Yeah. Which advice would you give a young person being somehow interested in the industry?
In the beginning, if you can get a summer job in a laboratory, perfect, then you get a basic understanding. And this is where many people start. They have a summer job, they get some experience in the industry. My view is that if you get into the industry and develop in the industry, you'll never ever regret it. You will always look back, but you need to be involved, to have been involved in many areas of the industry. It's just as valuable to have been in a quarry, to see what happens in a quarry, as to have been on an asphalt plant. It's just as valuable to manage a paving job, but then having an understanding of what's happened in the process. So when things go wrong, you can understand what went wrong. So I think whoever gets into this role, you will enjoy it. You may not earn the highest salary in the world at the end of your career, but you will have had a pretty satisfying career. Yeah.
I'm quite sure.
And I think the time we're in now with this digitalisation, even if it means we're getting rid of people as well, but we're creating new areas instead. Where it once would have been a guy in the laboratory, and now it'll possibly be a software engineer instead who's involved in the industry.
Yeah. There's a shift.
So, there's a shift. We're not just,
like in other industries too. Yeah. So are you one of the guys driving your car, being maybe in a traffic jam, pulling down the window, looking at what kind of asphalt is there?
Always.
Always. Welcome to my world.
You're always critical of what you see.
Yes. You always take the opportunity. When I'm on entering an aircraft, I will have a look at the pavement, which is below the aircraft. So we are the same kind.
It's a general interest. It's a sickness we have.
Young people should come to our industry with all these opportunities that.
But I just think we should make it clear that young people, this is an industry that gives you opportunity, gives you freedom as well. You're not tied to an office 24 hours or 12 hours a day or whatever it is. You can go out and experience other things. And it's a necessary part of your work to see. And I think this is this freedom that a lot of people like as well. Yeah.
So we can hear we are both satisfied in this industry.
Yeah, I've never regretted. I have a little.
You have?
A small surprise.
You have a surprise?
Yes.
Wow. I like surprises.
Good. Was that good enough, I think? I think we have 2 small models which you can keep here at the office.
Ah, wow. We are in the office in Brussels today, yeah.
I know this is 2025, but these are Volvo pavers, which are now Amann pavers. And this is an actual roller was discontinued by Volvo last year.
Wow, excellent! Thank
so
you.
You get these as a little memento from my side.
Yes, we have a small table here in the office where we will put them. Thank you so much. For bringing the presents.
I think they're always appreciated.
Yes. Yes. When I have something like this in my hands, I'm again a small boy.
Yes.
Yeah. So I really.
But don't let the 3-year-olds.
Really. No, don't. It's not for the babies. So thank you. We highly appreciate it. I think everybody in the team, everybody in the office, all visitors in the office will appreciate that, and they will take it in their hands. I don't know if we will unbox them, but maybe yes.
In 20 years' time, the value is in the boxes, not in the toys.
Okay, Martyn. Thank you so much for coming to Brussels, for joining us for this podcast. It was really a big pleasure talking to you, to see all your insights, your forecasts, your future visions for this industry. I really like your future visions. As I learned, we are not so far away from the future. We are already into it, and we are on a good way.
Yeah, I think we are.
Excellent. So thank you again. It's been a pleasure hearing your thoughts and your optimism about the future of paving. And to our listeners, if you have enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe and share it with your colleagues. Check the show notes below the podcast, leave a comment, and stay tuned for more conversations about the road ahead. This is the Roadcast, brought to you by the European Asphalt Pavement Association. Thanks for listening.